Okay.
Okay, today is the first day of our writers' workshop, and I am so excited to have you with us today. And anybody that's not able to be with us, I'm excited to have you come back and watch the video and the recording of that as well. The whole idea behind this, the writing workshop, is just to help people discover how to move forward in the writing of their book. I have some people that have already written books. I've had some people that are in the process of it, and some people that are just brand new beginners. And so, and I know that when I first started, I felt the calling of the Lord about 12 years ago in my life. Now, it's not quite been 12 years, about 11 years ago in my life. And him just telling me, you're going to write your story one day. And I want you to write your story, and I want you to share your story by speaking and writing a book. And I'm thinking, really, God, I really don't know how the first thing about writing a book. And so I should have listened better in English when I was growing up, but I didn't. And so, but anyway, but God continued to confirm that calling over the years. And even right after I felt that, I went ahead and joined a conference that was in my town, that basically it was a writers conference, speaking conference, and it was just amazing. But I walked away thinking, wow, this is just way over my head, because there's so much author lingo. It's like, write a bio, you need to do this, you need to do that, and I really didn't have a clue what they were talking about. And so time went on. The one thing that I did take away from that conference was, you need to continue to serve right where you're at. You need to continue to serve by teaching adults, continue to, do Bible studies and that sort of thing, which I was doing. I was working in my church. I was serving. I was teaching Bible fellowship or Sunday school for young people. But right after that, I decided that it was time for me to maybe move up to the adults, because that's who I wanted my book to reach. And so, so I started teaching ladies Bible study groups, and started teaching a Sunday school class for women at my church. And I had gone through a lot of issues, with going through a divorce and that sort of thing. So God just kind of continued to work right where I was at. Well, so about 10 years later is when I found Tribe Writers. I found the Tribe Writers course, and I felt like God was continuing to call me to start writing. So it was like, this is the time. So anyway, it was just that process of going through thinking, I don't know how to do this. I bet there's a lot of other people out here that don't know how to do this, and they don't know where to begin or how to begin. So God has continued to use me, and I'm doing some consulting as well and helping people one-on-one. And I thought this was a great idea to do a workshop to maybe, us feed off each other and help each other as well. So I want us to think about this. Your life story has been floating around in your head for a long time, and for years, and you keep saying, one day I'm going to write a book. Now, Dave, I know you've written a book, right? Haven't you already written a book?
I have written it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes, but a lot of people go to their grave, and that book is still in their head, and it never comes out. And so I want us to think, okay, one day is now. We want to write that book right now and get started. And how do we do that? The first thing that I want us to talk about is presence. The presence of where we are right now. And is writing a book a priority to you? Because as I was thinking about this and writing the notes down for this, I went and defined the word priority. Priority is a thing that is regarded as more important than anything else, okay? It's the fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. It's the right to take precedence or to proceed before others. So we know what a priority is. We know, first of all, we should have God as our priority in our life if we're a believer and that we're a believer in Christ, that He should be our priority. But we know there's life things as well, and we daily decide what we're going to give priority to. It may be our work, it may be our family, it may be, cooking a meal or whatever that is as an adult and as a parent or whatever our situation is. So we all have priorities. So what we have to determine, okay, is this a priority to write this book right now? Is this going to be something that's going to take precedence over other things that come along in our life, you know, because we all have all these different things that come at us on a daily basis. So we have to determine, is it a priority? Because if it's not a priority in your life, you're not going to do it. You know, it has to become a priority to the point that you're willing to set aside time to write, to do the things that you have to do to make this book a reality. And so with that priority and everything, there's something called passion. And we all have passions towards, you know, what we enjoy doing and the things that are in our life. And I also define the word passion. Passion is an intense emotion, a compelling enthusiasm or desire for something. And so we have passions towards things. And if you have a passion about something, it's going to move you to an action. You're going to take that passion, and for some reason, you know, whatever it is, we're moved, you know, by it. We make that decision to do something about it in some way. And so that's why it's important to have whatever you're writing about as, you know, a passion in your life. That's something that there's a reason, because that's the way you're going to move forward in this. You're going to have to make that a priority, that passion, and move it to action. And so I want us to think about this. Have you ever felt the calling on your life to write? Now, obviously, you've written a book, you know, and some people have and some people haven't. But, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a calling. I had someone today that told me, you know, she's never really been called, but she's gifted in that situation. And so, you know, a gifting is you're really good at something and it's a talent that you have. I personally would not say that was the reason I became a writer, because I wouldn't call myself a gifted writer at the beginning. I've had to learn and really work at it, you know, as far as that goes. But you know, I can understand where some people are gifted in that area. Maybe they've gone to school for it or something like that. But in some situations, it's a calling on our life. We felt like, you know, we're called to do this. You know, you can have a calling on your life by, you know, it's kind of defined as a summons on your life, an invitation that you need to do something like this. And so, you know, God has invited us. He's called us. He summons us to move forward in this. It could be a trade. You know, some people have a calling as a pastor or something like that, or a missionary, or some sort of position like that as well. And so we all, you know, you have to think about, is this a calling in your life? If it is a calling, and it's a calling that's been that you've been called to from God, then at that point it's an obedience thing. That we have to make sure that we're being obedient to the calling to obey God and what we've been called to do. So anyway, calling requires obedience, it requires action, and it requires priorities. So we have to look at that. So I want us to think about, how serious are you? Are you very serious that right now is the time that you need to do this? Right now is, I'm going to make a priority in my life to do this. And so when you do that, you have to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to give up something else to replace, you know, because we only have 24 hours in our day. And so something can come along that you can get so busy, or life just happens, and next thing you know, you've gone the whole day and you've not written anything. And so, and it happens. It happens to all of us. It happens to me all the time. And so anyway, so we have to be very intentional about scheduling our time and really making sure that we're preparing ourselves and that we're scheduling our time, that we, you know that this is our time to write. Now, some people can just get up and they can do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Some people, that's not me, but, you know, some people can do that. Some people, you know, have a different writing time that they determine, you know, so it's all different. And you can consider journaling, any kind of writing, as writing. Now, you know, are you using that to write the book? That's the thing that you got to look at. Another thing, as a writer, there's deadlines. You have to have a deadline. You think about this. I write for different. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you just a minute. Hang on.
I can't hear.
Okay, there we go. Now you can. So I muted the wrong thing.
Okay.
I just hear some feedback, so I'm going to go ahead and mute it, and then I'll unmute you in a few minutes. But anyway, basically, as a writer, you have to come up with deadlines. You're given deadlines to do things. Like if you decide to guest post for somebody, they're going to say, well, when can you have it? And if you say, well, I'll have it in 2 weeks, then you need to make sure that you have it to them in 2 weeks, and we all fall short in that. They say that people that go to a conference, if you've gone to any kind of writers conference, they say that only 30% of the people that are told by a publisher or anything like that, anybody that may be an agent, a publisher, or anything like that, only 30% of the people actually followed through giving that publisher what they really wanted. I'm guilty. I've done it. So anyway, we have to make sure that we are able to do, commit to our deadlines and meet those deadlines. Now, a deadline, as far as this goes, is, okay, when am I going to get this book completed? When will I have the book completed? And we're going to talk about ways to come up with that deadline and that sort of thing as well. The next thing that we want to talk about is your passion. When we talked about passion a little bit, a passion is what's rocked your world. Maybe you don't really know. Like I've had somebody today, she said, I don't really know what I want to write about, but I know I need to write. Okay, well, some of the things that you can determine is what has really rocked your world. What stirs you to action, those sort of things, and what do you love to talk about? Those are the things that we can consider in our passion that, we love the subject and we want to tell other people about it. I want us to think about our purpose in this, because also when we talk about, what leads us, we've got our priorities, we've got our passions, but we also have our purpose. Why do you want to write this book? What's your why behind it? Is it strictly just because I want to write a book? Because if that's the case, you probably won't get it finished. There has to be a real purpose on why you're doing this. And there again, I define purpose. Purpose is the reason for which something exists or is done, made, used as intended, or a desired result. It's the end, it's the aim, it's our goal, it's our determination, the reason that we're doing something. That becomes our purpose. And so we want to make sure that when you're thinking about all of this, I'm fixing to write this book, my book is going to become a reality, I've got to have a purpose, because if I don't have that purpose, then I'm liable just to stop at any minute. And so you've got to know what your why is when you're writing this book. And I did put on the worksheet a place in there to fill in your passion, what drives you to passion. I put a place on there for you to put down your why you want to share this book, why you feel like you want to write this book. Because like I said, we need to make sure that our purpose, if we don't know that purpose, we're liable to lose our passion. And if we lose our passion, then it's not, you're not going to get finished. And so the whole thing is keep your focus on your purpose, the reason you're doing this. It may be because you want to help someone else. You may have been through an issue or a life circumstance that you learned a lesson from, and you want someone else to know that lesson. You want to share what you did, so maybe they won't make that same mistake. So there's a lot of different reasons why we do stuff. You also want to you want to think about what your desire is to accomplish that book. What do you desire? This is kind of the question. What do you desire to accomplish with your book? Okay, so when you think about that, you're like, okay, what is my desire once I get this book accomplished or finished? What is my desire for it to go forward? Because they say a lot of times, a lot of self-published authors sell less than 250 books, and so there's a reason we have to move forward. We have to look. It's not just the writing of the book. There's so much more involved in it. There's the marketing. There's all the different things that go into the component of launching that book and writing that book. And of course, I'll share as much of that as I can with you as far as that goes. Another thing that you want to think about is, who are your readers? When you're writing your book, you want to kind of hone in on who you think will be reading this book. Now, we might say, well, who do you want to buy your book? And the best thing, well, I want everybody to get it. Well, everybody's not going to buy your book. I hate to be the spoiler there, but everybody's not going to buy our book. And so what we have to think about is, okay, who am I writing to? Who do I feel like is my audience here? In my situation, I have discovered with my book, Joy Beyond, that a lot of young moms really have liked, and it's really spoken to them, because I share a lot of my life circumstances from when I was younger and raising kids when they were smaller. And then I share other circumstances as I got older. So it actually hit a lot of different people, as far as that goes, a different people group. But you really have to try to hone in on who I'm going to write to, because that book may be reaching other people as well. But if you have an audience and I'm writing towards this person, like, I'm going to write towards women who are hurt, okay, that's who I'm going to write towards. Now, it may help other people as well, but you want to really focus on who your readers are going to be. So when you're writing directly to that reader. So the next thing that we want to talk about is preparing. How do I start? Where do I start? How do I prepare? When we think about preparing, or if you define prepare, it's to get ready, put in proper condition, by assembling or composing, something that leads up to it. So as we prepare to write, what goes into that? We want to talk about research. We want to make sure that you're researching. That should be one of the first things that you do. Now, that's not going to say that when you're writing, you're not going to continue to research, but you also want to kind of be ahead of the game and go ahead and research things as you're moving towards and you're writing this book. Research could be, looking for scriptures if you're writing for a Christian audience. You can look for articles that have anything to do with what you're writing. Quotes. Maybe there's quotes out here that you want to use. Interviews. You might want to interview someone else as far as that goes. Another thing that I did with my book that really helped it to reach a larger audience was I used stories from other people. I ended up writing, mine is like a 28-day devotional type Bible study, but at the end of it, I have 28 other stories from men and women and authors and friends and family and all different walks of life who also shared their story. Well, guess what that did? That was like an investment that they had in that book. And so when that book released, they were automatically wanting to give it to people they knew, or, they would buy their copy or that sort of thing. So I didn't go into it that way, but that's the way it kind of turned out. It's like, wow, I had some of them buying 10 copies at one time, and that sort of thing. So that's another thing. When you think about it, if you involve other people in your book, they're going to have a vested interest in your book. And so that might be something that you can use as well. But and then like let's think about scriptures. Like in my situation, I wrote the book Joy Beyond. So what did I do? I went and found every scripture that I could find that talked about joy, and so then at that point I had all those down, and I would implement those into different stories or different things in my Bible study. But it can work in any way. It can work with, if you're doing something on men or you're doing something on women, you can find something in scripture and just keep up with those articles, keep up with those quotes and all of that by using those, so that when you get ready to write your book, that you've got that right there in front of you. One way that I want to share with you, and I put it on that worksheet that I sent you, it's this one right here, the very first worksheet. I put some of the resources on here. One is Evernote. I don't know if you use Evernote, but Evernote is a great way to, keep up with your articles and keep up with different things. You can actually do a notebook and you can put everything in there. So it's a great thing to use. Also, I put on here, if you have a website or if you don't have a website, I have WordPress on here and Bluehost if you're looking to start a website. I use Microsoft Word for when I'm actually writing. I did that. I've done both. I've got Scrivener as well. But Microsoft Word, the good thing about that is when you send it off to an editor, they can send it right back to you and they can edit it. They can track the change. Track the that sort of thing. So anyway, those are some of the resources. I also put on here, if you're interested, the dream sheet. You can go ahead and pull that up and actually look at that and kind of see. That will help you determine your passion as well. So anyway, so as you go on and you talk about preparing, those are some of the things that you want to do. You also want to prepare by looking for book title, and as you know, you've looked for book titles before. You can always go to Amazon. You can go there and see, is there already a book by this title? Another way you can do with a book title is write down. You can write down everything you think of, okay? And then you're going to automatically be kind of honed in on one or two of those. They kind of stick out to you. But then use Tribe Writers, use some of the other groups, use our group to see what are other people resonating with, And, the same thing with a book cover, as well as that goes. Another thing that we want to think about is writing how much it takes commitment and time. So as I was talking about earlier, when you're preparing, you want to make sure that you prepare and schedule your time. That's part of our preparation. There's other thing, number 6 is publishing options. When you think about your publishing options, there's different options available out here. There's, of course, there's traditional publishing, which basically the best way to come up with a traditional publisher is by going to conferences, meeting them one-on-one. A lot of times you can do it that way. You can also send them a book proposal. A lot of publishers, traditional publishers, don't take them unsolicited though. So that's why it's good to go to a conference and meet them. There's also ways that you can get a traditional publisher by finding an agent. An agent, also a good way to meet an agent is also at a conference as well. And it's just that because you have that one-on-one, you get that opportunity to meet them, and they know you a little bit better than just anybody that sends them something. So that's kind of your traditional options. Now I will be honest with you, it's kind of hard to get in traditional publishing, especially right now because it's a big commitment for a publishing company to take you on, basically. Are you still there? Looks like I've lost you. There you go. Okay. So it's kind of a big thing for a publisher to take on someone they've never heard of, and so, or a new person. So as far as that goes, you want to make sure that you build a platform. And we'll talk about platform as well too. But I want us to kind of hear some of these words. A platform is basically you're just building your stage. In other words, you're building your tribe, as Jeff Goins talks about. You're setting it up where people can start knowing who you are. So when your book comes out, then they're more likely to buy that book from you. We can set up our platform by using any kind of social media, Facebook, Twitter, any of the groups, Pinterest, Instagram, all of these different places that you can set up your platform. Another way to do this is by speaking, getting speaking engagements and that sort of thing, because you can always sell books at your speaking engagements as well. Now, if we talk about publishing, those are, like I said, some of the traditional ways. You've also got your hybrid publishing, which hybrid publishing, I personally don't recommend that. Hybrid publishing is when a publisher comes to you or you've met them maybe at a conference, but they want you to pay them. They want you to pay them $2,000 or $5,000 to help write your book and edit your book, and they'll do all that for you, but they're charging you. So it's like, is that really, it's not really like, the best option in my opinion to go with. There are other options, and one of those is self-publishing. I've personally self-published my first book, and it's not unusual nowadays for people to self-publish. What you have to do then is make sure that you can get the formatting done. You also want to make sure that you have an editor or somebody that can edit your work, because we've got to be very careful as self-publishers that we don't put bad work out here. We want to make sure that our work is, error-free as it can be, and that it, the book covers look professional. You just got to be very careful, because this is you on the line. We're representing. Of course, I'm as a believer, I'm representing Christ, but we're also representing who we are, and we want our work to be good. We want it to be, the best it can be. And so those are some of the ways that you can actually publish, and some of the options that you have. Now, I want you to think, and I'll go to all the questions. Any questions you have at the end, we can talk about those. The next thing I want us to think about is, do you have a plan? Either yes or no. I mean, we're at that point. You either yes, you're on this call, so obviously you have something that you want to do, and this is my plan. I've got to do this. But without a plan, our passion and our purpose and all of that's just treasured in our hearts and our minds. Until we get that plan in motion and we take action on it, it's going to stay up here in our mind, and it's going to stay in our heart. And so we have to plan to start writing. And so, hang on, I'll undo you. What'd you say?
I have my plan.
You have your plan.
It's on the back of a Starbucks brochure.
Okay. Well, that's a beginning. Okay. I will suggest that I'm going to mute you again, but I'll get back to you in just a second. Okay, I will suggest that you write it down in Evernote. And the reason I do that, there you go, you've got a notebook. That's a good thing too. But I use Evernote for everything, okay? I do my journaling in Evernote. I set up my daily journals, my quiet time, everything in there. I look up scripture and put that in there. I'll use, if I've done Facebook posts or Twitter posts, with Twitter especially, you can go back and run those again. So I keep those in Evernote. So if I'm like, I need something, I want my presence to be on Twitter at some point, and I want to make sure I'm encouraging somebody, I can go back and pull that back out again. And it's already there. All I have to do is copy and paste it. Another thing with your goals and your to-do list, there's a way to do your to-do list in Evernote. I have figured that out, and I love it. Every day I have my to-do list on Evernote. Then whatever I haven't done, I'll just copy, paste, pull it to the next day, and it's there. I used to write everything on a pad, and now I use Evernote. My pad is almost empty. But I love that. So it's a really good thing to do. It's also a good way to be able to say, okay, these are my 2015 goals. Next year, when 2016 comes along, you're able to pull them right back up again. You've got them right there in the document on your computer. So it's a good way to do that. But when you think about your plan, you think about, what's involved in writing a book, okay? So the first thing you want to really think about is, when do you want your book complete by? That's one thing that you want to think, okay? So when I think about that, I start saying, okay, maybe it's a book that should come out at Christmas time. Maybe it's a book that should come out for Father's Day or Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. Or I just had a friend who just released a book at graduation time, because her book is for graduates. So there's some books, when we think about when we want it to be complete by, there's some books that are timely because of a holiday or a season, but that doesn't necessarily have to be. In my situation, I released my book in March. There was no holiday. There was nothing, because it's an anytime book, as far as that goes. So there's something that really think about. When do you want to release this book? Everybody wants to think, well, I'll release it at Christmas because maybe they'll buy it for Christmas. Well, then think about all the other books that are being released at Christmas time. So you might want to think about a different option as far as that goes, unless it's a Christmas book. Of course, at that point, you would want to make sure it's a Christmas. So anyway, that's something to think about. Then you also want to think about, how long do you want your book to be? Okay. When you think about a book, do you want it to be a 6-chapter book, or do you want it to be 12 chapters? Or is it a 28-day devotional? Or is it does it matter how many chapters it is? So that sort of thing. So you really want to think about how long do you want your book to be, because that's going to help us when we talk about next week. What we're going to talk about next week is how to come up with that deadline, because I want you to think about this stuff this week, because you need to know, okay, how long do I need this to be? How much material would I even have to put in a book as far as that goes? So one of the things that that we're going to do this week, and that's part of your assignment for this week, is to create a chapter outline. Now, I want you to think about this. When we were in high school or in college, you had to come up with outlines, and it's like, okay, I remember doing that in college and that sort of thing. But the good thing about doing it now, and it doesn't have to be that way, but the good thing about doing that now is it kind of keeps you focused on where you're going with this. If you can see it, if you just start writing and you can't really see where the ending is going to be, it's kind of hard to get there sometimes. So if we come up with a chapter outline, don't have to stick with it. Doesn't mean you can't change it. Doesn't mean that you can't add to it or take away from it. It just means it's kind of a guideline for you. You can put your title of each chapter down there. Maybe you want to add your title, okay? Maybe you want to, in your chapter outline, you want to say what's going to be included in this chapter. That's something that you want to make sure that when you're writing your outline, and this is your assignment for this week, to write your outline, put what the title's going to be, what's going to be included in that chapter, and then what's the takeaway. What's going to be the takeaway for someone else? Because you think about this, I've read stories from other people where they just shared their story, their life story, and maybe it was a great story, but it was just their story. There was no real takeaway for me as the reader. And so you want to make sure that you have a takeaway, because that person, of course, who has taken the time to invest in reading your book, it's not just for you. It's because they want to read a book. Now, if it's just a fictional book and all that, maybe they're just reading it for just pleasure. That's fine, but there should still be a takeaway in it. There should always be something that grabs their attention, that moves them to an action of some sort. So that's one of the things you want to think about. And then I want you to think about how long you propose your chapter to be. So in other words, is it going to be a short little 2,000 word chapter, or do you plan to write 5,000 words in a chapter? That sort of thing. So you kind of want to think about how much material you have in that chapter. Another thing that I did when I was actually writing one of my outlines is I actually wrote the subtitles even in there. I had the chapter, and then I even wrote some subtitles, so it kind of helped me keep moving forward. Because when you're writing, you may not have it all right there in front of you. You may not exactly know what you're going to put in there, but you start writing or you start typing, and then all of a sudden you think of something else. At that point, write that down. Write that down as part of that chapter, that you want to do. So pretty much that's everything that I have to say. I'm going to unmute you now, and that way, if you have, this is kind of our time. Did I unmute you? Yes. This is kind of a time right now that if you want to ask any questions or discuss anything, you're welcome to ask. Ask me whatever you want to ask. I won't claim that I'm like the expert on anything, but you know what? I mean, God has allowed me to do this, so I'm really excited about it. And, I'm just taking what I've learned and try to help other people with it. So is there any questions that you have?
Well, yeah, I have a whole bunch of questions.
Okay, good.
The timing, I think, is just so perfect, because a lot of the things that you're talking about are things that I have been thinking about.
Okay.
So I do have kind of a rough outline for one of the books that I want to write. Let's see. Let me try to make some sense out of things I've been writing about. One of the things that I'd love to know is I've heard other people talk about using Evernote.
Right.
I've used it for a couple of silly little lists for like going on a vacation, putting onto a list and using it for that. But I really haven't figured out how to use it for writing. And how
Okay.
to,
Can I share my screen with you? I'll take you and show you what I've got. Hang on just a second. First, I need to pull it up. Okay, hang on one second. Well, if I can get out of here. Okay.
Okay.
Give me just a second.
Okay.
And I'll pull my Evernote up with you. Well, I had it. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen yet?
I can. Yes.
You can. Okay, so basically, if we look over here, I have everything in my Evernote. I have any affiliate companies that I work with. I have my ministry in there. I have, when like this fellow right here told me, you need to send me something for the Baptist Courier. I have Bible studies that I'm working on, and it shows Bible fellowship lessons, Bible study lessons, and then let's see, let me get back here. I've got bills due. I've got insurance information because I'm an insurance agency. Then I come down here. Let's see. Let's say I've even got contacts in here. You know, A, B, C, D, all the way down to, like, if I want to put a contact in there, you know, I've got different information about all of that as far as that goes. You can password protect and encrypt them as well.
Okay. So now, how if you want to create one of these, you're creating. So these are individual notes.
Wait, you're breaking up on me just a little bit. Do what?
These are individual notes.
These are individual notebooks. Okay.
Okay.
So I have notes inside the notebook. Let me just say.
Something that, yeah.
Let me see here. I'm just looking here.
That's fine. Yeah, something you feel is not confidential.
Well, I mean, so I keep all my tax stuff in here. Well, one thing I'll show you while I'm here is this is like a to-do list. These are different things that you can put on, and then if you just want to carry it over the next day, you just highlight it, copy, paste, and put it on the next day. You know, that sort of thing. So, I mean, you can put whatever on there. You can actually copy, like if you've got somebody that gives you some information and you want to do something about speaking, you can copy, paste it, put it in there, and it's in your to-do list automatically as far as that goes. Now, if you want to add a notebook, let's just say we want to add a new notebook. And I just want to say, new notebook.
Did it just add that one?
Okay, it added this one. Okay, let's just say I want to write a new book. Top 10 ways. I can't even type. 10 ways to speak. Okay, so I've got that in there. There's the notebook. Then I come up here and new note in that notebook. Okay, and I want to just date it today, June 1st, 2015. Then at this point, you can either drag files in there or you can start actually writing, you know, whatever is in there as well. You can highlight it. You can do whatever you want to. But basically, and I don't do a lot of my own personal writing in there for my book, but I'll pull research over there. Okay. Let's see. I did have something in here.
Okay, so if you've got like you say, you'll pull scriptures in there and you have maybe have a scripture passage.
Yes. This is a writing and speaking notebook right here. Let's see. That was just something that I came up with, and it was just like just something to think about.
Okay.
Let's see what that is.
I think I think it's finally starting to sink in.
Well, and you know, it's just a matter of, let's see. Okay, here's something I did. I started writing this. This is one of the things that I'm writing for an ebook. I did put that in here. And you can actually put a different chapter for each one.
Okay.
Okay, and like presence, place, plan. And some of this is, you know, from my workshop as well. I'm going to do an ebook with it and stuff. And so I just kind of put it in there. And then you can pull it back out, put it all in a book form or whatever. And so that's just, you know, I did the book cover. I've even put, it's called Finished. Top 10 steps to finish writing the book. You know, I've still got to work on it, but you know, that's just kind of a beginning as far as that goes.
Right.
So that's kind of some of the things that you can do with it. Now over here, see over here where I've got shortcuts?
Yes.
You know, you can put shortcuts. I mean, if you want a shortcut to Bible Gateway, you know, you go right there, you put it in there, you can pull that over there and add it to your shortcuts.
Okay.
You know, like the dream sheet, I've got that automatically there. So if I need to give that to somebody, I can just send it automatically to them. I've got my journal right there. And see, I'll even do pictures in there. If I'm like doing something and writing, you know, doing my quiet time and God speaks to me and I decide I want to do an image, I'll pull it right over there, you know, or it's just a journal type thing. So that's some of the things that you can do. You can put tax receipts in there, all kinds of things, free numbers, like this is my conference call number, things that I know that I'm going to use again that are real close, I want to keep right there with me in my shortcuts. But then you've got your notebooks like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of a little bit of idea, but do you want to go and add your new notebook and then you come up here once you have your new notebook and you add a note to Evernote. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of that. Did you have any other questions on that?
Just the one last thing you said, if I need to, like the dream sheet, and if you want to send that to somebody, is there I'm sure there's an easy way to send that.
Yeah, with what I would do is I would click on that. I go over here, copy paste, and then take it over and send it through an email or something.
Oh, okay.
You know, so now there is other ways as well. Let's see if I can move you down a little bit. Over here, if you look at all of these up here.
Okay, so there might be an icon there where
you can share, say you want to share it that way.
Okay.
You can share that whole file with somebody if you'd like to do that. There's also other ways. Let's see. That's something else that you can do. That's just a title. Just lost you. Oh, that's it. Okay, but then, let's see. You can copy a public link. You can share your whole notebook. You know, whatever you want to do as far as that goes. You can even use it as, see this right here? Yeah. You can actually use it as a whole presentation. Let me find something that would look like a presentation. Let's say I click on that. That's kind of, okay, so see how I've got the whole, so if I was just going to do a presentation, you can see everything that goes into it. And you can use your computers for that. So there is a whole lot of stuff you can do in Evernote. I love it. It's my lifeline because I carry it with me. I mean, it's on my phone, it's on my computer, it's on, you know, my iPad, whatever that I use is there. Okay. So any other questions while you got me on Evernote? I love it.
Evernote Premium, is there?
There is. I would go with the I guess it's called their premium account. I think it's $5 or $6 a month. I think I pay $5. I think they just had a price increase, and I don't know what that went up to, but I'm pretty sure I was just paying $5. Another thing you can do off of Evernote, let's just say you want to tag something. Okay, see all my tags? Okay. So basically, if I say, okay, I want to find something that has to do with Facebook posts. Maybe I've got some Facebook posts. Okay. So I tag everything, and there you go. There's a Facebook post that I did. Or if I want some shorter Facebook posts, let's just find something else. There might be something, you know, that I can use that I've used on Facebook before. But there's a lot of different ways you can tag things. Let me go back here and look. Back. Okay, let's say, for instance, I'm fixing to do a something on Lot's wife. I'm going to do a message. I'm speaking at a church. And so everything that I'm going to find on Lot's wife, I'm going to put in there. And so I automatically put this article that I found, you know, about Lot's wife out of the Bible. And so then when I get ready to do it, so you can, if you want to put anything like ministry goals, magazine guidelines, gosh, there's so much. So you can tag them at the same time. And Andrew Traub from Tribe Writers, he really recommends tagging more than using notebooks. But I kind of started setting it up both ways. So I do both of them. But I'll tag something. But let's say, for instance, you're going to send an email to yourself. Let's just go over here to my notes, my recent notes and stuff. Okay. Say, for instance, I needed to send, like I wanted to copy myself on something that somebody had sent me. And basically all I have to do is go in here. Let's see if this is. Find something real quick. Okay, this was a forward. So basically I just forwarded the email over to myself, because they give you like an email address that you can actually use, you know, and you can take that email and send it, tag it, send it directly over. Like this is for one of my consulting clients, send it directly over. So anyway, it's amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share right now, because we're almost through at that time. Any other questions about anything else?
Well, you said that next week we're going to talk about time to complete the book.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I'll just wait with that. And I've got the chapter outline started. How? Let's see. How much are you going to share this next week? How much time it took you to write Joy Beyond?
Yeah, it took me about 6 months to write the book, actually. But then you have to give yourself editing time as well. So I started writing about June, finished my book around the end of December, which was crazy timing for me because it's insurance time as well. Because, you know, I still have an insurance agency. Would I like to get out of it? Yes, I would. But it still pays some bills. And so, but then I started doing the editing process and released the book in March. So what you got to think about is realistically how long it will actually take you. What I do is after you determine some of the questions that I asked today, you know, we'll determine, okay, how do you back into that? You know, if I want to be done by December, how many words do I need? You know, first of all, how many chapters do I need? That sort of thing. How many words? And then you have to back into it all the way to the point. How many words do I need to write each day? You know, and that sort of thing. So another thing, do you already have a bio?
I do have something on my health and fitness website, so I saw what you had on the Facebook.
Right.
Page, so I'll try to condense that to 150 words.
Okay.
150 words.
Do that. What?
Post it.
Excuse me. What we're going to do is after we've written it, the 150 words, we want to figure out how do we hone it down to less, because a lot of times, like when I write with different, I write for a couple of different magazines and stuff, like online magazines. But when I do, they want a short little bio. They don't want a 150-word bio. And so you've got to figure out, how do I pull those words? What words can I do without? And so that's the same in writing. If, you know, you have to determine, is this word really needed? You know, so we'll talk about that. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is some of the tips that I've given on this sheet as well, which they're right here. But depending on who you're writing to and what you're writing about, you don't want to come across preachy to people. So a lot of times the way to do that is by using us or we or I or that sort of thing instead of you and pointing fingers. And so people want to know that you care and that you're real and you're authentic, and they don't want to be preached at. That's just the way it is. And then we want to make sure that we hook our reader. You want to really think about, what's going to grab their attention, and start your chapter that way. Start your chapter with that hook. So when you're thinking about what's going to grab their attention, you may be saying, this is what I'm going to do to help solve a problem, or something like that. There's ways to hook your reader as far as that goes. So those are some of the things. Like I said, I did put the assignments on here. I have a couple of people that haven't been able to sign up yet on the website, on the on the Facebook group, and I'm not sure why they can't get on, but I noticed you're already on it, so there's just a couple people that still can't. But I also want, one other thing I want you to do is write down the 3 things that you want to accomplish in 2015. And there again, I hope it's one of those things is to write a book, because that's why we're here. So anyway, any other questions before we go?
Well, no, I know we're at an hour, so I want to respect your time as well. I've got some homework to do. I do have. I think I have other questions, but I don't really have them formulated right now.
Okay.
So
Well,
Brenda, I'm ready to embrace being a writer, which is something that I thought I was going to do when I was in grade school.
Really? Wow.
And I'm a recovering CPA. I understand about the insurance thing.
Yes.
It's
fun.
Bills. And yes, and for the last approximately 10 years, I have been a personal trainer as well, a health and fitness trainer. So that pays some bills too.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that are, the health and fitness became a passion. And I think I have a gift for writing and for speaking. And so that's what I want to transition to now. It's the timing is for that.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited. I'm glad you chose to go with us and stuff. And, I hope that I help you. I want to do whatever I can to help you. And of course, in turn, I hope that you'll share, the workshop with other people as well as time goes on. But let me say a quick prayer before we go, and we'll end. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for all your blessings. And God, I just thank you for each person that has chosen to follow the calling that you have on their life, Lord. And Lord, as Dave is here and expressed his desire that this is the perfect time, and Lord, I pray that you will open those doors, that you will help him to find that passion and that purpose and make it a priority in his life, Lord, and set out a plan that will be accomplished. Lord, we thank you for everything. We love you. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording, and then I want to ask you a quick question.